How many times have you sat with your friends, having a great time, when suddenly the conversation shifts to topics about jinn, spirits, or black cats? Despite your fear, you find yourself captivated and wanting to hear the story to the end. Or how many times have you been scrolling through social media and stumbled upon a post about a haunted house or a cursed mansion, only to find yourself absorbed in the tale? And what about when you visit amusement parks and see long lines for haunted houses and death rides? Even though most people start screaming and crying for it to stop as soon as the ride begins, they often leave feeling ecstatic and wanting to go again. So why do people do this? Why are some people drawn to things that scare them? Isn't fear supposed to be a negative feeling that we naturally avoid? What's the story behind this? But before we dive into today's topic, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. The attraction people have to scary things isn't a new phenomenon. Humans have had this trait since ancient times. In primitive eras, some people were willing to risk their lives to explore a new cave or climb a mountain. Others enjoyed hunting dangerous animals and venomous snakes, despite these creatures not being suitable for eating. The point is, people did these things for enjoyment. Even in more modern times, many cultures have enjoyed violent and bloody spectacles. Take, for example, Roman gladiator games, which were held in public arenas with large audiences. Even when people let their imaginations run wild, they came up with terrifying legends to scare their children. Over time, we've seen stories about vampires, werewolves, monsters, and ghouls. We don't know who the creative minds behind these characters were, but they are deeply rooted in our history, passed down from generation to generation, and have been a source of fear for everyone at some point in their lives. Yet, despite the fear, we eagerly listen to these stories to the very end, knowing full well that many of us will have trouble sleeping afterwards. When cinema emerged in the 1890s, people's love for fear and scary stories inspired the French filmmaker Georges Méliès to experiment with turning these stories into moving pictures. In 1896, the world saw the release of the first horror film, The House of the Devil. Although it was only 3 minutes long and featured moving skeletons, transforming bats, and disappearing ghosts, all in very poor quality and without sound, the film was a huge success. This encouraged many directors and producers to try their luck with horror films, which began to spread worldwide. They turned to literary classics like Dracula and Frankenstein to adapt them into moving pictures. Over time, symbols of horror appeared everywhere: cartoons, novels, games, you name it. This increased the popularity of horror among people even more. A survey conducted among 1,000 Americans revealed that 55% of them love scary things. But why do people from all around the world agree on their love for horror? To answer this question, we need to delve deeper into the human body and understand what happens when we find ourselves in a frightening situation. Fear has been the main reason we haven't gone extinct. If we weren't afraid of anything, we might have tried to hug a tiger, play with a scorpion, or jump off a cliff, since we wouldn't feel any fear. That's why God endowed us with a comprehensive system that always protects us in such situations. When we face a terrifying situation, whether it's a real threat like a lion chasing us or something less dangerous like watching a horror movie, our brain immediately interprets it as a disaster about to happen. The areas of the brain responsible for auditory and visual perception become highly active. Our pupils dilate to be aware of any movement around us. The brain sends signals to the endocrine glands to release large amounts of adrenaline, cortisol, endorphins, and dopamine into the bloodstream to help us escape and save ourselves if something happens. Adrenaline speeds up our heart rate, helping blood quickly reach our muscles, preparing us to run. Cortisol raises blood pressure and dilates blood vessels around vital organs, ensuring they get more oxygen. This is why we breathe rapidly when we're scared. Endorphins act as a natural painkiller, released just in case we get injured. Dopamine transmits messages between nerve cells in the brain and other body parts. Here's where the intrigue starts. Endorphins and adrenaline create feelings of euphoria and happiness after being released in the body. This makes us naturally drawn to scary things because they make us feel exhilarated afterwards. This is why we get excited about riding a roller coaster. A study conducted on 262 adults after they exited a haunted house showed that 50% of them felt an improvement in their mental state after the experience. Tests conducted on them before and after the experience revealed that their stress responses were lower after leaving the haunted house. This explains why many people, when feeling upset or stressed, enjoy reading a scary novel or watching a horror movie. It's worth noting that it's not just hormones that play a role in people's attraction to recreational fear. Psychological factors also come into play. For instance, many people who love horror have what is called morbid curiosity. They always have a desire to know what happened, how it happened, and when and where it happened. Even if what they're hearing or seeing scares them, they won't rest until they reach the end. This is why, if you see an accident on the street, you'll find people gathered around, even if they don't plan to help. They just want to see what happened. Sometimes, this curiosity is aimed at learning and gathering information to see how we might react if we find ourselves in a similar situation. When we watch a horror movie, we want to know how the monster will die or how the ghost will behave. This way, in our subconscious, if we ever encounter a monster, we'll know what to do. Since we're safe and nothing will happen to us, we can live the experience of danger without any real risk. This is why stories and films based on true events or related to the reality we live in are more popular among people. Even though these should be scarier, considering they depict things that actually happened, people are still drawn to them. Another reason a large group of people is attracted to horror is that fear sometimes gives us an opportunity to release our suppressed emotions. By nature, when we feel anxious or stressed, we find ourselves wanting to cry or scream. Of course, no one would start screaming in the middle of the subway, but if you're in a haunted house or on a roller coaster, you're allowed to scream as much as you want. This is one of the reasons why people play these games, even if they don't intend to. The purpose is to release the pent-up emotions inside them. And that's it for today. Who made it to the end? If you did, you're the best. Give us a like before you leave so we know how many of you stayed till the end. Goodbye for now.